Okay, so we're talking about more designing with photos, and this is actually a variation of a tutorial I did on the NetMember site not too long ago where we're using channels to create a very interesting layout. And I wanted to take it a little step further and add other elements to it, how you can combine multiple photos with the same effect and even add some elements in there as to complete the overall design, as you see right here. And this is what we're going to be creating. And this is using a combination of this photograph, that one, and this one right here. So let's begin building our layout here. So here I have my what I'm going to call my base image here. And what I want to do is create a selection or a channel that I'm going to need to generate this effect. So let's go into the channels palette. And what we're going to do is I'm going to hold down my command key or control key, and I'm going to hold down the command or control, then click directly on this RGB channel. We'll load the luminosity as a selection. So with that luminosity selected, I'm going to go ahead and create a new alpha channel right here. And I'm just going to press Command Delete. It'll be Control Backspace, and it will fill it with white. And it will almost be like a black and white version of our image. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to press Shift Command I to inverse the selection, and I'm just going to fill with black once. I'm going to press Option Delete. Then we're going to Shift Command I again to inverse the selection back. And now, with white set as our background color, I'm just going to press Command Delete. It will be Control Backspace about 3 or 4 times. And we'll deselect. So you can see what I've got here. It looks pretty good. So we've blown out a lot of the detail, giving us a way to edit this alpha channel to achieve that design effect we're looking for. So what I'm going to do next is go over here into the toolbar and grab the brush tool. And we're going to use, or paint with black, so set black as your foreground color. And set the blend mode of the brush up here to overlay, as you can see right there. Then, let's get a little bit smaller brush. When I click into the black area here, it's going to pretty much stay that way and only affect any areas that are darker than 50% gray, as you can see. I haven't released my mouse yet. I'm continuous to paint because it sampled that one area in the hair. And all it did was really darken all those other areas. So really quick. Big soft brush, overlay, just click in the dark area and paint over the rest of the area. It'll just darken it all up. Now, I'm going to want to be able to load this alpha channel as a selection. Well, as you know, when you load an alpha channel, it looks at everything that's white and loads it 100% as a selection. Anything that's gray will be partially selected. Anything black will not be selected. So in this case, I want the exact opposite. I need to inverse the values of this image so it selects the areas that I want it to. So I'm simply going to press Command or Control I, and it inverts those values. Let's go back into our layers, or rather, let's go in here and actually load this as, well, we'll do it in the layers. You could click on it here, but we'll do it over here. So back in my layers panel, I'm going to go ahead and create a new blank layer, and let's just go ahead and fill this layer with white. So I'm just going to Command Delete, fill that layer with white. Let's go ahead and create a new layer above that one, and we're going to go into the Select menu and choose Load Selection. And we want to choose that alpha 1 that we created right there. And click OK, and there's our active selection. Now on that blank layer, I'm just going to choose a color, and yes, I used blue before. Let's go ahead and do that. But the beauty is, it will be on its own layer. We can change the color anytime we want. So for now, we'll go ahead and load that with blue. And there we get that really cool effect we saw a moment ago on this person. So that part's done. Let's do the surfer. We're going to do the very same thing, you know, and it's the cool thing about this technique is that you can try it on so many different photos, and you're always going to get something different, and it's very, very cool. So again, command click on the RGB channel, load the selection, create a new alpha channel, fill with white, inverse, Shift Command I, and then we'll Option Delete to fill that foreground color in, Shift Command I again to re-inverse the selection, and then hit Command Delete, with filling it with white just about 3 or 4 times. That looks pretty good. Now, I'm not going to do the brush with the overlay mode on this particular one, but I am going to do the gradient, actually. So, yes, you can do a gradient in the overlay mode. So we're going to select that gradient tool, change its blend mode to overlay, and we're just going to start up in the upper corner here, and let's use the radial gradient for this, and just come out here and give it a little bit of a darker area there. You notice how it only affected the areas that are 50% gray or darker, leaving all those white areas alone. Pretty cool stuff. So now, as before, we want to inverse the values when we load this as a selection. So I'm going to press Command or Control I, as areas go. Let's go back into the channels, and we'll go back to the layers panel, create a new layer, and let's load this selection. Let's go into select, load selection, alpha 1, and there it is. Now what I'm going to do now is just simply drag this selection into our working image. So let's grab a selection tool, and you'll see the move tool change when you're inside the selection area. Click and drag it up to our working title, and then we'll release the mouse, and let's position it up in this upper corner. And just as we did with this layer, I'm going to go ahead and create a new blank layer, and Option Delete, fill that with that same color blue, and there we're getting that image there. So we've got an area over here that's protruding into our face, and we don't necessarily want that, so let's go ahead and create a layer mask on that. Get a foreground to transparent. Let's change that back to normal, and we'll just go in here and paint that little layer mask. Let's make sure we're using a linear gradient right up here in the options. And that'll blend that image in there nicely. So, a couple more elements to add. Let's add that little color gradient we had there. Well, that was really kind of cool. I'm going to actually go and select this bottommost background white layer and create a new layer above that one. And we're going to grab our lasso tool. And here's what's kind of cool. I'm going to start right at the base of the ear here. But the key here is that I need to end at this very same point. So you get what I see in a second. I'm going to just click and start drawing in a scattered fashion, kind of like that frame we did in that other lesson. And I'm just going to go around different parts, but I'm kind of backtracking as I go, as you can see. And just kind of getting, let's get a little area in the eye here, and this, that, and maybe a little bit in the nose. But I'm backtracking back to where I started, and then the selection will load. It's basically giving me a really cool scattered selection area. Well, what we're going to do now is fill it with a gradient. So I'm going to go over here in the toolbar, grab the gradient tool, into the gradient picker right here, and let's just choose something crazy. Let's do these colors here. I'm just going to drag that out and put that in there. So we'll deselect and see what we've got. Got something pretty cool. It's kind of a cool diagram effect. You know, this almost could be done with it. I could leave it like this. But in this case, I'm not going to. What I am going to do is, you can see it's got a lot more going on, but we've got it sitting behind this layer. Because we're going to go into the filter menu and go down here to blur and give it a motion blur. And that is where we get that really cool effect you saw a moment ago. We can lessen it, make it more intense, do whatever we want. If we wanted to make it a little bit more darker, when I click OK and apply that, just duplicate the layer. And it will make that a little bit more dense. So let's merge them together. And then we got a cool effect there. So let's add one last thing, is the text that we saw in there. So just do this really quick. I'm just going to grab my text tool, select that topmost layer, and click. And I'm just going to type the word Miami. Because that's where we are. This is where it's taken, Miami. So just activate my free transform. I'm just going to scale that up a little bit. And we'll put that right about there. Now here's one cool thing I'm going to do. This is where that city image comes in. We're going to go over here and we're going to make this a selection like we did a moment. Just pretty much the same way we did with the channels thing. I'm going to go into the channels and let's load that channel as a selection. Again, creating a new alpha channel and filling with white. Inversing selection. We'll do the black. Inverse it again. White, 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 white. Just like that. Now I'm going to invert the values of this. Again, Command or Control I. And we get this going on. Well, I'm going to use my levels to modify this a little bit. So let's bring this in and pretty much push the dark slider here until the sky goes away. So we can see a lot of the city there. And let's actually brighten that up a little bit. Just like that. So my entire sky is black. It will not be selected. So let's go ahead and click OK. Command or Control click right on that channel. Or you can load it as we did before. Go back into the layers. Create a new layer. Load selection. And we'll do the alpha 2. And there is that selection that we've modified. Let's take it again and drag it into our working document. And I'm going to position it right over our text. Because I'm going to do two things here. While it's selected, I'm going to apply a layer mask to the text, and it did it in reverse. So if it does it backwards, you just simply press Command or Control I on that layer mask, and it will get it in there. So the city is in the lettering. And let's go ahead and unlink these layers. I'm going to actually scale down that city inside that mask. That's the cool thing about it being a mask, is that you can take it in there and just scale it down and do whatever you need to do. Now again, I'm going to load this layer, or the layer mask rather, as a selection. I'm going to hold down my Command or Control key and then click right on it. You see the little selection icon there. I'll click and load that layer mask as a selection. Now I need to inverse it because it's actually, all the white area, it's actually selected the background. So I need to just inverse the selection. I'm going to press Shift Command I, and I will inverse it in there. So let's go ahead and create a new blank layer right beneath this text layer right here. So I'm going to select that text layer and hold down my Command or Control key once more. Click it, and it will drop a new layer beneath that active layer. And I'm just going to fill with the same blue that we've got on the foreground color and press Option Delete. And there we have the city there. Now we've lost the whiteout that's going on inside the lettering, so I'm simply going to load the text itself as a selection. I'm going to hold down the Command key and load that text. And then down here on this city layer that we've got on the outside, I'm just going to hit Delete. So now it should mix nicely, and we look like we've got the city kind of protruding in and out of the lettering there. Very cool stuff. So, very cool ways of taking multiple photos. Like I said, it's a technique I've done before, but I just wanted to expound on it and really kind of show how you can really kind of combine a bunch of different effects to achieve something else very cool all together. So, there you have it, and have fun with it.